Welcome back to the channel, folks. Good to have you back. I've been thinking through this fertilizer thing and wondering if I should care, just to be straight level with you. I mean, I saw this fire plant, you know, this fertilizer plant light on fire up in North Carolina, I believe it was, Salem, I believe. And I'm like, okay, you know, this would be a good video. It's a news story. It happened like an hour ago. This is like, you know, 2 days ago. You know, and the news gets the views, so that, you know, that's probably a good story to hit. But then I thought about it, and I was like, I don't really have an opinion on this fertilizer thing, because the real, like what's in my heart on the fertilizer thing, I get it. Yeah, maybe it'll increase. I mean, yeah, sure, it's gonna decrease crop yields, increase food prices. Are people gonna starve over it? I don't know. I mean, that's not my, you know, it's not really my place to say. I don't have the data on that. But then at the same time, I genuinely don't think we should be using synthetic commercial fertilizers. So it's like, oh, well, there's a fertilizer shortage. And like, I'm like, good, freaking good. Because we should be farming the way that we used to farm, which is like, you have a massive, you just call 400 acres, and you have your crops, and when the crops are harvested, you allow your animals to graze it, and they make a mess of it, but they're fertilizing it as they go through it, and you're building soil and roots, and then you just move those animals on, and you have another crop, and maybe you do permaculture, and you intercrop and intermix. And I've seen a bunch of documentaries, one of them being Kiss the Dirt, which I thought was absolutely excellent, and it was talking about regenerative farming. And the guys that have been doing it are some of the most profitable farm operations out there, and they're robust. And so when I see this fertilizer, these news stories, I'm like, okay, like, who cares? And I mean, I guess I'm supposed to care because it, you know, caused food shortages and stuff. And I suppose I don't want that to happen, right? Like, I don't really want there to be, you know, mass migrations of people and all sorts of, you know, famine and you know, war and social unrest and violence that will probably come with that. Like, I'm not really trying to live in that world. I don't want to live in that world. I don't control it though, right? Like, I can't do anything about it. And so it's like, I see these news stories about, oh, fertilizer fire plant, this and that, and I'm like, good. Like, we should not be using, we should be, if we're gonna use fertilizer, I mean, I get it, it's needed, but like, why can't we just use compost tea? Why can't we just use manure? Why can't we just go back to how it was always done? Like, why do we need to constantly be adding a nitrogen salt mix to the soil, which is ultimately just salting the fields, which is what they used to do in like the Roman times. You like conquer a village and you salt the fields so they can never rise up and be prosperous ever again. You know, that's like a big thing. Like, oh yeah, we salted their fields. Like, we burned the village and we salted the fields. And it's like, well, that's all we've been doing for the last 80 years since World War II. I mean, World War II essentially comes to a conclusion and commercial fertilizer is born. Because like all that extra ammonium nitrate that they were using for weaponry was like, oh, and it's actually pretty good at growing stuff. Let's go ahead and use this in the farming app. And it increases yields and lowers food costs, and like gave us in the West here like an abundant selection of food. And then we started genetically modifying this food. And then we've got like food at this point in time that's like Roundup resistant and things like that, like all these GMOs. And I'm just like, this isn't good. You know, like this has to stop. And so if fertilizer shortages help farmers or incentivize farmers to like go back to regenerative farming and explore better options instead of just like make curve go up, make profit go up in the short term at the expense of the long term, good. Like, I don't know. I guess, am I supposed to care? Am I like heartless? Or is this, you know, because I mean, I've heard it said on like Financial Fitness, like, Chris, great dude. And he's like, yo, man, this is gonna affect people. This is gonna affect people's lives. This is gonna affect ranchers. This is a problem. And I'm just like, I mean, I know you probably have a point. Like, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, like, I genuinely just hear these stories and I'm like, good. Is that awful? Is that terrible? I mean, I'm kind of like, good. Wake the people up. Like, get these people like growing some of their own stuff, getting them composting their own stuff. I mean, once I started composting about 2.5 years ago, and the soil's so rich and full of worms, and like everything that I put in, it grows, and it's a lot too. It's like a lot of compost. I mean, just the amount of waste that you throw out that goes in the compost every day or week is a lot. And so it's just like, yeah, everybody needs to be doing this. Like, so when I hear these things, I don't know, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I mean, I get it. I feel like there's this big Agenda 30. I've been watching a guy called Adapt 2030. I'll link to his channel. I really like him. He's got a good points. I just think that this is a natural and healthy progression of society to be like, hey, you know, we need to be more robust. We need to like take a step back and like get back to land and start growing some stuff and eating really good, nutritious, organic food instead of just like, well, we want cheap, abundant food. Like, wouldn't it be a good thing to have a little bit less food and then ultimately that would incentivize people to start growing their own, which ultimately would lead people to more organic food, which over the course of time, over the next 10 or 15 years, would be immensely healing for our society and like is exactly what we need, instead of just like sit at home and play on the metaverse and eat this garbage that comes in a bag that's got fancy colors on it. Like, because ultimately we're eating corn, sugar, wheat, or soy. Like, ultimately we're not eating a whole lot different than that. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm completely off base here. You guys let me know what you think. But I just see this happening and I'm just like, good. Like, you know, many like I occasionally I'll see like a lawn care YouTuber, and because I came up in that industry, and it's astounding. These guys have 100,000 sub channels, big channels, and people watching lawn care. I mean, lawnmowers moving back and forth. I mean, they're getting 50,000 views on this stuff, and I'm like, why are we growing grass? Like, am I wrong on this? But like, it's like, why are we growing grass? Like isn't the opportunity in like getting rid of your lawn service and growing your own food, or just hiring a lawn service that instead of every week comes to mow the grass, comes once a month to tend the crops or tend the apple trees or peach tree, whatever grows in your area, you know, add wood chippings. I mean, at the very least, wouldn't it make sense to bag the lawn and like put it in a pile in the yard and start building compost? Like, at the very least, I don't know, I see these stories and, you know, these food shortages and all that stuff, and I'm like, good. Like, people need to stock up their own stuff. People need to be aware of what's going on. People need to understand, like, you know, why is the food going up? That's what happens when you print trillions of dollars. Like, it's obvious. But I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm supposed to care. Maybe I'm not seeing something that maybe someone will enlighten me in the comments. Like, no, you don't want, you know, like they're building these apartment complexes over here. I think about that. Like, yeah, every time I see high rises and stuff, I'm like, these people are not going to be, although they could, and I feel like that's a big solution. They could grow their own stuff on their porches and patios, and like, the world is abundant. I mean, it's full of seeds. We can do lots of amazing stuff. It's just people need to start. If everybody just started, that'd be great. I know that you can't save the world. You can only save the world one person at a time. And so what I was getting at is, I don't want to see like a mass migration of people like out to my place because they're hungry or whatever. Like, but like at the same time, it's just like, yeah, people need to farm. People need to grow their own stuff. Stop growing grass. I mean, the #1 crop in North America is turf grass. I mean, we use more fertilizer on turf grass than we do in ag. It's just like, why? I don't get it. And then all of it runs off into the bay. At least in my area, when I was a kid, we had red tide one time. The last 3 years in a row, we've had red tide. Last year, it lasted all summer. Kills fish population. I mean, there are fish in our area that won't come back for 7 or 10 years if it stopped now. And so when I hear like fertilizer plant on fire, I'm like, good, they're gonna not poison the Gulf of Mexico this year. Like, thank God. Like, maybe fertilizer will go up like 10x in price, and like people will use it just for their plants if they really, really need it, and not for their grass, which just seems crazy to me. Hey, you guys let me know. Thank you guys for being here, liking, subscribing, sharing any of this content that you find valuable, because it helps the channel grow, and I super appreciate it. Thank you.